Hi guys, in my last video I did say that if anybody wanted to know how I was able to overcome my infertility issues with nutrition, that I would do a video. So I've decided to do that today. I don't want the video to be too long, but I want it to cover enough so that I'm able to kind of really accurately portray my journey and to cover any questions that anybody may have whilst watching the video. So it all started when I was from a young age. To be fair, I've always been on the slim side, so I've always wanted to gain weight. That's always been my main concern of, like, when it comes to my physical appearance, is like, yeah, I want to get bigger, I want to gain weight. So as a result of that, my diet was very poor. Like, I would eat a lot of processed food, a lot of white rice, white pasta, white breads, a lot of chicken and chips from the chicken shop, a lot of McDonald's, a lot of KFC, a lot of these kind of foods that I considered to be very calorific. When it got to, like, I was doing this basically throughout the whole of school and college and university, and I was eating really poorly. Up until that point, I never had hardly any vegetables. I never ever drank water. I didn't even understand why people would drink or buy water. Like, it was that bad. I've changed so much since then. Um, so yeah, over time, my health, I noticed, started to decline. So I noticed I was a lot more tired than usual. Over time, my hormones, like my mood, were affected. I just know that, you're just not feeling the same within yourself. I noticed that. I also noticed that my periods over time became very irregular. So whereas I'd get them, accurately every single month, over time I started to miss months. So it'd be like 1 month I'd miss, to 2 months, to 3 months, to the point it got to 6 months and a year, like a whole year I wouldn't have a period. And I started to get really concerned. I was thinking, gosh, what's wrong with me? Why I'm not getting any periods? Like, not to be too graphical in the video, by the way, but I have to be honest and explain, what happened. So I've got to be, as detailed as I possibly can. So yeah, my periods got really, really irregular. And then over time, I started to feel like, what am I going to do? Like, if I want to have a kid, I'm not going to be able to at this point. I noticed, even though I wasn't getting periods, I was still getting a lot of the symptoms. So, like, sensitive breasts and things like that. I was getting that, but I wasn't getting any period at all. So after some time, I went to the doctors and I said, hey, like, I'm getting these symptoms, like my period's coming, but I'm not having any period. What's going on? And they basically said, you've got inflammation of the breast, which is mastitis. And they said, we're going to give you some ibuprofen. So I was like, what's the cause? What's happening? They said, we don't know, but we're going to give you this. You can come back and tell us if it's worked or not. So from that point, I was just thinking to myself, like, I need to make a change for myself. I got really concerned because I got into a relationship at that time as well. And we were being very, can I put it? Very uncareful, not careful. And we weren't trying for a baby, but we were basically acting like we were trying in terms of protection. There was none. And I wasn't getting pregnant. And I wasn't trying to take precautions because my conclusion at the time was, okay, if I'm not having any periods, then I'm probably not releasing an egg. Therefore, I'm not going to get pregnant. So that was my kind of mindset at the time. So we were just completely being careless. But over time, after a year or two, I started to think, okay, I'm not getting pregnant. If I was trying for a baby right now, there would be none. Do you know what I mean? So I started to really get concerned. I didn't want to go to the doctors because I felt I was doing a biomedical science degree at the time and was learning a lot about health at this point, and the pathology of the body and things. And I came to the conclusion on my own that I most likely had polycystic ovaries. And I know if I went to the doctors, they most likely would put me on some form of medication that I didn't really want to be taking. And from my previous experience, they never really look for the cause. They just want to prescribe you something. So I didn't really want to go down that route, nor did I want to associate myself mentally with some type of illness, because I feel like mindset has a lot to do with the health and condition of your body. And I didn't want to, I guess, put that on me as if this is my disease. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't go to the doctor. So not long after all of this, when I was I was really thinking about this and I had this in mind, I came across a documentary called Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead by Joe Cross. And it's basically about a guy that goes through, basically he's got illnesses, he's got autoimmune diseases that makes his body break out in hives. He's been overweight for years. He's been on medication for about 9 years. because there's no cure for the diseases that he has. And he decides to go on a juicing diet for, I think, 30 to 60 days or something like that. And he's going around America speaking to Americans about their ideas of health and nutrition and things like that. Long story short, after the 60 days, he was able to completely come off all of his medication. He'd lost a whole heap of weight, and his body basically completely healed itself. So I was like super inspired. I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it too, maybe this is the road that I need to go down. So the next day I literally went down to Kingston and got a juicer. And I remember this day because the juicer was so heavy and I had to drag that thing home on the train. Like, it was so bad. So I bought it at home, and I started going out and getting loads of fruits and loads of vegetables to juice. Now, mind you, my diet at the time, prior to this, was very, very, very poor. I hardly had any fruits. I hardly had any vegetables. The juices like I would consume were all like mixed drinks and like fizzy drinks, ginger beers, lemonade. That's all I would consume for hydration. To me, it just sounds like crazy. I can't even believe I was eating like that. So I was eating things like that. My meals never contained any greens either. Like, I just didn't had any. So when I made the transition to eat healthy, there was all these new foods that came new to me. Like, I'd never had blueberries, asparagus, papaya, all these foods, pomegranates I'd never had before. And so I was just buying everything I could possibly find that looked green and healthy or like fruit based. And I think I was spending about £50 a week on fruit and vegetables because I just went radical, guys. Like, I decided if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. So I completely eradicated all sugars, all like processed foods from my diet. I was cooking everything from scratch. What else was I doing? I was juicing a litre of vegetable juice a day. It would only have probably about 1/3 fruits. And I was juicing a litre of that and drinking that a day. Around that time, I'd started a new job and I was... for my lunch times and stuff, I wasn't going to KFC anymore. I was getting like wraps and stuff that I was choosing what vegetables that I wanted in them. And I was like snacking on like my handbag was full of like blueberries and raspberries and strawberries, and I was just snacking on those throughout the day. Like, my diet was radical, like a radical change. And after the first month, I noticed that I had a period, and I was like, this was the first period that I had in months. And it was normal, complete normal, like duration. And I was laughing with my partner and joking at the time, saying, haha, we need to be careful now because I could potentially get pregnant. So that happened. And then the month after that, I was waiting for my period to come and it didn't. So I was thinking, okay, maybe it's my body taking its time to kind of get in sync and, kind of balance itself out. And so... I was at work and I was getting a lot of symptoms, like my period was coming. So I was thinking, okay, it's coming. Maybe it's just late. At this point, it was about 6 weeks after my period the month before. So I was already late 2 weeks. And I was thinking, okay, it's coming because I'm clearly getting symptoms. It must be coming. And on a few occasions, I was getting such bad stomach pains. When I was on the phone at work, sometimes the clients, I had to come off the phone, put the client on hold and say to my colleague, could you take this call? Because the stomach pains I was getting was so bad. And one time it happened again. And my colleague was like, listen, you're pregnant. And I was like, no, I'm not. I said, I'm not. Because he didn't understand what was going on in my life at the time. He was just thinking, okay, well, you're with somebody, you're likely to be pregnant because you're getting stomach pains. And I was like, I'm not. But anyway, I went to my manager and I said to my manager, listen, I'm getting really bad stomach pains. Could I please go to the pharmacy? And he was like, yeah, go pick up some painkillers. So I went to the pharmacy and I picked up some Feminax. It's like a form of painkillers for period pains. And I thought I was getting my period, right? And what happened? So I was standing in the queue in the pharmacy and I just looked up and I saw a pregnancy test. And I was like, let me just get one. So I bought it, went back to my desk, took the Feminax, completely forgot about the pregnancy test. And then when it got to lunchtime, went to the toilet, looked in my bag, and I was like, oh yeah, let me take it now. So took the pregnancy test. Whilst I was waiting for the result, I was looking in the mirror at my hair. Like, guys, this is how much I did not think that I was pregnant, because I wasn't even paying attention to the test. Eventually, I looked down and I saw that there was 2 lines, and I was so shocked. Like, I had to drag my colleague and say, hey, is this right? Like, am I reading this right? And he was like, yeah, you're pregnant. I was just like, so I was shocked. I was so shocked. Had I not been pregnant, I would have had 2 periods in a row for the first time in years. So clearly anything that my body had kind of had an issue with was completely resolved, and very quickly, just by changing my diet. And I feel like any nutritional deficiencies that I had, which was resulting in kind of a manifestation of infertility, was resolved once I started increasing the nutrient density of the foods that I was eating. So I just wanted to encourage people, like, there's a lot of women and people out there suffering from a lot of illnesses that are not realizing that their diet is directly the reason for why their bodies aren't functioning properly. And we'll go to the doctors a lot of the time, and I'm not bashing doctors, but a lot of them are not versed in nutrition. They're not trained in nutrition. I did a degree in biomedical science, and we learn more about disease and the pathology of the body more than nutrition. We barely covered nutrition. So I just want to say, like, if you're feeling anything in your body and you know it's not well, change your diet. There's only so long that you can go eating foods that lack nutrients and lack healthy phytochemicals and all the things that our bodies use to function before our bodies conk out, because the deficiencies get too much, and they can't handle it anymore. So that's my story. And I've changed so much since then. Like, I'm into herbs now, and I'm into so many things. I find that I rarely get sick. If I do, I heal very quickly. And there's just many things now that I've now done from research that's helped me. I mean, since then, I've never had an issue with infertility or irregular periods. My daughter is healthy. I call her the veggie baby because she came back because of veggies. And yeah, so that's my story. Most likely we'll do more videos in future to talk about like how I manage now, because it was a long journey since then, and I've changed a lot in terms of what I do and what I eat now, and how I lower my toxic load and things like that. So if anyone wants a video about that, I'll do a video about that in the future. But yeah, that's my story, and I hope it helps somebody. Take care. Bye.